Welcome, guys. Equity Podcast. Barrick here. Talking books today. I'm not talking about recommendations or anything like that. We're talking about how to read books. And we're going to talk about two different things. The first one is like how you physically interact with the book, which is kind of weird, but how we physically interact. And this has changed for me over the years. I used to be a very book purist, where like I wanted the book to look pristine its entire life. So like when I would read it, I would leave the spine at 90 degrees, and I would turn the page, turn the book to read each side. And then I realized why. We have, like back in the day when a book was, when a book had to be handwritten, or was like the printer press, where a book actually cost like a lot of money and it wasn't easily to reproduce. That might have made sense, but now use it. That's what the book is meant there for. It's meant to be used. It's meant to be read. So I use the book now. I dog ear it. I highlight it. I write in the margins. I have a conversation with the book. I have a conversation with myself while I'm reading it. It's not just this one-way path. It goes both ways. I'm taking from it, and I can have a conversation with myself throughout that book. So I'm generally always reading two books. I read a fiction and a nonfiction. So I'm reading The Way of Kings right now. I usually read that at night before bed. It helps me relax. And then I'm reading Breathe by James Nestor. Way of Kings is by Brandon Sanderson. I'm reading both of them right now. The fiction I like to read before bed, and it's a good time. And you can notice I have a bunch of dog ears here. You can see them if you're on the video. And then I have stuff written and underlined all over the place in here, in the margins, squares. I have like paragraphs at the end of chapters. Like, I'm using the book. I really use it. Same thing with this one. This is nonfiction. And this one, like with Breathe, I actually had a real conversation. Like there was a concept in the book, and I was like, I don't understand this. And then he keeps going on, and I'm like, okay, I think I kind of get it. And then later on, I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm starting to really grasp what he's trying to say. So, like I said, a lot of stuff in the underline and quotes and whatnot, and have a conversation with the book. And so part of this, and that's like part of this is to. There's this concept called the learning pyramid, and what basically starts at the top. You have if you listen to a lecture, you're going to retain 5%. If you read it, you're going to retain 10%. Audio visual, 20%. If you demonstrate it, 30%. If you have a discussion, 50%. If you do or practice it, 75%. And if you teach it, 90%. It's just a concept. You can check that out. So just by reading something, you're going to retain maybe about 10% of that. But if you can start writing in it, if you start dog-earing stuff, you're having a discussion with yourself. You're audiovisual. You're writing it. So it doesn't matter what the percentage is, but it's definitely going to be higher. Like, now that I'm having that conversation, I'm writing stuff down, underlining it. I'm writing notes. Like, there's going to be more retention there. I'm going to remember what I read better, and then I'm going to be able to get more out of that book. So it's more than just a one-way street, and it's a sign of that book was used. It's a sign that it was, having all that stuff in it. It's a sign. It shows that relationship. It shows that you learned something. It showed that you enjoyed it. That it wasn't just this thing that you just up in one ear, out the other, and you get rid of it. There's more to it than that. So that's kind of like the first part I wanted to talk about. Is like, don't be afraid to actually use your book. Have a conversation. Write in it. Use the book. Use it. The next part is specifically about fiction, and maybe nonfiction you might be able to do this with, but I haven't had that experience yet, but mainly with fiction. And I really noticed this with this book, just right time, right place. And that is how most people and how I started is you read for the story, you read for the lore, the details, all the little things, right? You're getting into this world. And that's a fine way to read a book. And you should read it that way partially, but that's just facts. It's trivia, it's whatever, it's fun, but I think there's a next level. It's not it's not or, it's and. That's one level to read a book, and then there's another level. And that's to find out what is the book trying to say, or what can you take away from the book. Maybe the author's trying to say something that they want to say, but you take something completely different out of it, that's fine too. But what's something at a deeper level you can take out of this? One example that I had is actually a movie. It's Starship Troopers. It's sci-fi. It's like a B movie type. Like that's the type of style it's in, but it's kind of in that B movie on purpose. And I just thought it was, a sci-fi movie, and I really like sci-fi, so I thought it was cool and whatever. I was like, it's not the greatest movie ever, but whatever. And then I watched something later on, and it was about fascism. And I'm like, oh. And then you go back and watch it, and you're like, oh, now I see it all. And I completely missed that. And there's a lot to be gained from that. I mean, this is literally why people make art generally, is to have some meaning behind it so people can get something from it. It's just not about the lore. That is part of it, and that's fun, but there's other things we can get out of it. What are the takeaways from the book? Like, what are you getting from it? What are you learning from it? Are you learning something about yourself? Like, hey, you agree with this character and not the other one. This was immoral or moral. This person has my values and this person didn't. I understand where this person is coming from, but I don't agree with what they did. I think this was just completely implausible, or whatever, right? Do you agree? Do you agree? Like, what is it? So, like, two things that came up for me in this book is, one, there's this character, his name's Kaladin, and it's about him becoming a leader. Like, he when he was growing up, learning how to do the right thing, all of that, and then he has this falling from grace, and he's at the bottom, and he just has to, it's just him building back up and becoming a leader again. And I'm really big into philosophy and some stoicism stuff, and it really hit home for me. I really enjoyed it a lot. And owning the gym, leadership is something that I really, really like reading about and learning about, and his arc and his story has been really fascinating. And then on the other side, there's another story in there with a girl, Shaolin, I think her name is. It's all about her learning, and it's her having a discussion with her mentor, and the two of them just discussing it, and just having the two women just talk about philosophy and immoral and moral actions, and it was just really good. And then there's this underlying plot underneath the whole thing. It's just fascinating. It's me getting to think, well, do I think that thing was moral? And they kind of take you along with it. So there's two levels that we can read books. We have that underlying, the lore, the details, and then we have what are we taking away from it? What are we learning from it? How do these match my values? Or is this an example of my value? Or is this an example of why I don't have this other value? It helps reinforce, helps us learn, and we can take that information from the book and use it in our lives. One of the big things is Kaladin, he's basically supposed to die, but he's still leading he's still doing his very best every single day. And that's literally a Stoic mantra, is do the task at hand like it's the last thing you're going to do. So it's almost the opposite of YOLO. So instead of, oh, I'm going to die, so whatever, let's just go do crazy shit. What they're saying is, this might be the last time you ever get to have your daughter ride you like a horse. So give it your all, right? Enjoy that moment. Because eventually there's going to be a last time that happens. Eventually you're going to do your last back squat. Eventually this is going to be the last run you ever do. Eventually this is the last project you're going to do. This is the last summer your son is going to have with your son, right? This is their last summer in high school. So we want to treat that thing like we're going to give it our all. And that's what he's doing. Like, he's supposed to die. And he's still doing everything he can to help the people around him. And that's what I strive for. You know, we always fall short sometimes, but we always want to strive for better. And that's something that's really I've taken from this book. Right? If it was just the lore, it would be great. It's a really deep, interesting book with crustacean pets. It's kind of neat. But learning that and that deepening my thoughts on the subject has really been enriching and has helped me in my life as well. So think about it on two different levels: story and what you can take from it. Well, I really hope this helped you guys. I mean, I like talking about it, so it helped me kind of flesh out some ideas as well. So I hope you got something out of it, and I really, really appreciate you guys for watching or listening, and I hope you got something out of it. Cheers.